We've been told that modern society is constantly progressing. Faster technology, smarter devices, global connectivity. But here's the paradox. While the world seems to be advancing, individuals are feeling more stuck than ever. In a society obsessed with productivity, progress has become a performance rather than a personal reality. People wake up exhausted, grind through meaningless work, and then distract themselves into the night. Not because they're thriving, but because they're surviving. What we call progress is often just an acceleration of habits, routines, and distractions that keep us from looking inward. The metrics of success are external: likes, followers, salaries, titles. But internally, there's a growing void. We've traded depth for efficiency. The illusion of forward movement disguises the absence of real self-development. Modern society encourages this deception. If you're busy, you're valuable. If you're overwhelmed, you're doing it right. But busyness without purpose is spiritual erosion. People are sprinting on a treadmill going nowhere, mistaking motion for meaning. True progress doesn't come from doing more. It comes from understanding more. And most people are too overstimulated to even ask the right questions. The system is rigged to keep us in this loop. If you stop and question it, if you sit in silence long enough to hear your own thoughts, you become dangerous, because that's when you start to see the illusion for what it is. The illusion of progress is the first great deception. Never before have humans been more connected. We carry entire networks in our pockets. At any moment, we can text, comment, react, or even video call someone across the world. And yet, despite this hyperconnectivity, people are lonelier than ever. This is the second great deception of modern society. The illusion of connection. On social media, everything is curated. We show smiles, victories, vacations, celebrations. But behind the filters and polished captions is often a hollow silence. Real human connection, the kind that nourishes your soul, requires vulnerability. It requires presence, listening, and discomfort. None of those things translate well into a 15-second story or a perfect selfie. Many now mistake attention for intimacy. A DM is not the same as a deep conversation. A like is not the same as being truly seen. We've become addicted to digital dopamine while starving for real emotional nourishment. Worse still, this hyper-connected environment actually teaches people to avoid intimacy. If a conversation feels too heavy, just scroll. If someone disagrees, unfollow. If you're uncomfortable, swipe away. There's always another distraction waiting. This trains us to escape instead of engage. This constant connectivity also creates the fear of missing out, FOMO, a subtle anxiety that everyone else is living better than you. It's a lie, but it keeps people comparing, chasing, and performing. And comparison, at its core, is a killer of joy. The irony is cruel. The more we try to feel connected through devices, the more disconnected we feel from ourselves and others. We're building relationships out of pixels instead of presence. Carl Jung said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." In today's world, we talk more but say less. We post more but share less. We're surrounded by people, yet unseen. To reclaim connection, we must step back from the noise. We must become intentional with our attention, because true connection isn't just about being in touch. It's about being in truth. We live in an age where society celebrates rapid progress, faster technology, smarter gadgets, more efficient systems. On the surface, we appear to be advancing at an unprecedented rate. But ask people how they feel, and a different picture emerges: exhaustion, disconnection, and a vague but persistent sense of being stuck. How is it that in the most advanced era in history, so many feel lost? This is the paradox of modern progress. We are told that everything is improving. We have more choices than ever. We can talk to someone across the world in seconds. We can order food, find love, and build careers from our phones. Yet, beneath this surface-level convenience is a creeping emotional stagnation. People are moving faster, but rarely forward. Why? Because most of this progress is outward, not inward. We've upgraded our tools, but not our inner lives. We chase better jobs, higher status, more polished appearances, but we rarely question the internal void that remains untouched. We confuse movement with meaning. Modern society sells the illusion that if you keep up, if you stay busy, productive, and optimized, you'll eventually find satisfaction. But what we often find instead is burnout. We are told that slowing down is laziness, that rest is unproductive, and that constantly doing more is the only way to prove our value. This endless treadmill of self-optimization leaves us drained and disconnected. What's even more deceptive is that much of this progress serves systems, not people. Corporate growth is celebrated while individual well-being is sacrificed. Technological development is praised even if it makes human interaction more shallow. Society congratulates itself for innovation, while anxiety, depression, and loneliness quietly rise in the background. Progress should be about human development, emotional resilience, depth of thought, stronger communities, and spiritual clarity. But we've replaced these with metrics, data, and status symbols. We have more access, but less depth. More followers, fewer friends. More stimulation, less meaning. To truly progress, we must stop mistaking external upgrades for internal growth. We must begin the harder journey, slowing down, reflecting deeply, reconnecting with our values, and building lives that are not just fast, but fulfilling. Otherwise, we're just racing toward emptiness in more advanced ways. And we are more connected than at any other point in human history. At any moment, you can message someone across the globe, scroll through thousands of updates, join dozens of online communities, but despite this constant contact, people report feeling lonelier than ever. This is one of the greatest paradoxes of modern life, surrounded by communication, yet starved for connection. Modern society has substituted real human intimacy for digital interaction. Social media has become the stage for our lives, where we perform rather than connect. Likes replace love, comments replace conversation. Online friendships give us the illusion of connection without the vulnerability and commitment required to form real bonds. We scroll endlessly, seeking validation, but leave the experience feeling more empty. That's because we are not seen for who we are. We are seen for how we appear. Connection has been commodified. People become content. Attention becomes currency. And in that world, authenticity is dangerous. too messy, too raw, too human. This constant exposure also fosters comparison. We are no longer just living our lives. We are constantly measuring them against the curated, filtered lives of others. We compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. And slowly, our sense of self-worth begins to erode. But it goes deeper. The culture of hyperproductivity, individualism, and personal branding tells us that needing others is weakness. Dependency is discouraged. Vulnerability is framed as unprofessional. So we retreat into ourselves. We suffer silently. We tell ourselves we're fine, while inside we're starving for genuine connection. This disconnection isn't just emotional, it's structural. Cities are designed for speed, not community. Workplaces prioritize output over well-being. Even families are often fragmented by the demands of modern life. The village is gone, and in its place, we are left to figure it all out alone. True connection requires slowing down. It requires attention, presence, and openness. But modern life offers little space for any of these. We're always on, always distracted, always managing appearances. To feel seen, we must be willing to be real. To feel connected, we must learn to be present. And to feel less alone, we must resist the systems that treat people as profiles and relationships as transactions. Until we rebuild real human bonds through vulnerability, shared struggle, and unfiltered presence, we will remain lonely in the crowd. 1,000 followers can't fill the void of one genuine connection. One of the most devastating aspects of modern society is the loss of depth. Depth of thought, depth of feeling, and depth of experience. We've traded contemplation for stimulation, reflection for reaction, complexity for convenience. Everywhere we look, life is moving faster. Notifications ping constantly. Content scrolls endlessly. Opinions are delivered in seconds and forgotten in moments. We are conditioned to consume everything in fragments. 30-second videos, 280-character tweets, headlines without context. And slowly, without noticing, we begin to think in fragments too. Deep thinking, once essential to philosophy, art, and even love, is now a luxury. Who has time to sit in silence and reflect? Who has the patience to wrestle with uncertainty, ambiguity, or contradiction? The pressure to keep up is relentless. So instead of thinking for ourselves, we outsource it, repeating opinions we've seen online, aligning ourselves with ideologies we haven't questioned, reacting rather than reflecting. This surface-level engagement isn't just intellectual. It bleeds into our relationships and our identity. We present curated versions of ourselves, polished and filtered. We communicate in emojis, GIFs, and abbreviated texts. Our emotional language shrinks. Our attention spans dissolve. The result? A society that avoids difficult conversations, numbs discomfort, and fears stillness. This is no accident. Shallow engagement is profitable. The more distracted we are, the more ads we see. The more reactive we become, the easier we are to manipulate. Critical thinking doesn't drive clicks, outrage does. Nuance doesn't trend, extremes do. As long as we stay on the surface, we remain passive consumers, not empowered individuals. But there's a deeper cost. Without depth, we lose meaning. Life becomes a blur of input without integration. Experiences are forgotten as quickly as they happen. We skim the surface of everything and wonder why we feel so empty. To reclaim our minds, we must slow down. We must make space for boredom, silence, and solitude, the very things modern life tries to eliminate. We must resist the urge to constantly scroll, respond, consume. We must ask hard questions, sit with uncomfortable truths, have real conversations that go beneath the surface. Because depth is where transformation lives. It's where relationships become real, ideas take root, and identity is formed. Without it, we remain stuck in a world of distractions, never knowing who we are beneath the noise. Modern society keeps us shallow because it's easier to control people who don't think too deeply. But freedom begins when we dare to go beneath the surface, when we choose substance over spectacle, meaning over metrics, and truth over comfort. From the moment we're born, modern society begins shaping our identity, not based on who we are, but on what we should be. Before we can form a single, independent thought, we're bombarded with messages about what's acceptable, what's desirable, and what success looks like. It's subtle, persistent, and everywhere. You're told how to dress, how to talk, what to value, what to avoid, what to aspire to. You're taught that you need to look a certain way to be lovable, behave a certain way to be accepted, achieve a certain status to be respected. These aren't neutral ideas. They're programmed into your mind through school systems, advertising, entertainment, and social media. And the scariest part? Most of it happens without you even realizing it. By the time you reach adulthood, your identity may already be a patchwork of societal expectations. You believe you made your own choices, what to study, who to date, what kind of life to pursue. But how many of those choices were made freely? And how many were made because you were told that's what people should do? The system thrives on conformity. It doesn't want you to know yourself. It wants you to be predictable. Predictable consumers, predictable workers, predictable voters. When you conform to a manufactured identity, you are easier to control. You're less likely to question authority, less likely to step outside the lines, less likely to disrupt anything. This is why individuation, the psychological process Carl Jung described as becoming your true self, is so rare and so revolutionary, because it requires rejecting the false identities you've been handed. It means taking an honest look at the beliefs, goals, and dreams you've inherited and asking, do these truly belong to me? But questioning your identity is not easy. It can be terrifying, because you're not just walking away from the mask. You're walking away from the safety, the approval, and the familiar ground society gave you. It means disappointing people, losing status, standing alone. Yet it's the only way to become real. True freedom doesn't come from chasing the identity you were given. It comes from destroying it, peeling back the layers of programming, sitting with the uncertainty of not knowing who you are, and then slowly, patiently, building an identity that comes from within. This kind of self-discovery is inconvenient for the system, because once you know who you really are, you can't be sold to the same way. You stop needing external validation. You stop living on autopilot. You stop chasing empty ideals. You start living with intention, with depth, with power. The greatest rebellion in a world of manufactured identities is to become authentically you, not what the algorithm wants, not what your parents expected, not what the culture rewards, but who you were before the world told you who to be. In theory, we're more connected than ever. With a swipe or a click, you can talk to someone across the world. You can share your thoughts, your photos, your daily routine. But underneath this digital web of connection lies a deeper reality. We are lonelier than ever before. Modern society has replaced real human connection with performance. We don't gather in town squares or lean on neighbors anymore. We scroll, we post, we like and share, but we don't feel seen. We don't feel truly known. Instead, we curate versions of ourselves for approval, presenting highlight reels while hiding our emptiness. This is the great irony of the digital age. Everyone is available, yet no one is present. People go days, even weeks, without a real face-to-face conversation that goes beyond small talk or surface-level updates. We've traded depth for convenience, speed for meaning, quantity for quality. And this didn't happen by accident. Modern systems thrive when people are isolated. When you're disconnected, you're easier to manipulate. You consume more, depend more, and question less. The loss of community has turned individuals into consumers first and humans second. The village that once raised the child is gone. In its place are screens, influencers, and algorithms telling you how to think and what to buy. Loneliness is now a silent epidemic, one that contributes to anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. And yet, we're told to keep performing, keep chasing, keep pretending everything's fine. But humans are not meant to live this way. We are tribal, relational, story-driven beings. We are meant to sit in circles, to cry together, to celebrate wins, to grieve losses, to help one another carry the burden of being alive. The erosion of community has also eroded our identity, because you cannot know who you truly are without real human mirrors, people who reflect you back to yourself, not through filters, but through real conversations and shared experience. True relationships are where transformation happens, not in isolation, not through podcasts or self-help books alone, but an honest, messy, face-to-face connection. Rebuilding community in this fractured world is an act of rebellion. It means being present when others are distracted. It means listening when there's nothing to gain. It means choosing real connection over digital validation. It may not be fast. It may not be glamorous. But it is the only path back to wholeness. Because no matter how successful you become, how rich or influential, if you do not have real people in your life, people who truly know you and love you, you will remain hungry for something that success can never feed. Modern society doesn't just keep you busy, it keeps you distracted, not with meaning, not with growth, but with noise. Endless scrolling, binge-watching, clickbait, fast content. It's not entertainment anymore. It's escapism, a way to avoid the deeper questions that might make us uncomfortable. People aren't lazy, they're overwhelmed, number-tired. Not from doing too much, but from doing too little of what actually matters. Matters up every day and being pulled into a world that doesn't care about their soul, only their attention. And that's the currency now. Your attention. You're not the customer. You're the product. Social media apps, games, Streaming services, they're not designed to serve you. They're designed to keep you there, to feed your dopamine just enough to keep you coming back. They mimic connection, mimic meaning, but leave you feeling more empty the more time you spend. This is by design. When you are constantly entertained, you are rarely reflective. You stop asking the important questions. Who am I really? What am I here to do? What is worth my time, energy, and life? Entertainment, in moderation, can be beautiful, but now it's become a pacifier for a society that's anxious, directionless, and spiritually starved. We've lost the ability to be bored, to sit in silence, to confront our inner world. And that silence, that stillness, it's where purpose begins to speak. But we never hear it because we never slow down long enough to listen. The average person now checks their phone over 100 times a day, not because there's something urgent, but because they're restless, because somewhere deep down there's a sense that something is missing, but they've been trained to fill that void with noise instead of depth. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. You are not weak because you fall into distraction. You are human, and these systems were built to exploit your psychology. But the moment you recognize that, really recognize it, you can begin to reclaim your mind. That means creating boundaries. That means choosing stillness over stimulation. That means replacing endless consumption with intentional creation. Reading something that expands you. Writing something that reflects you. Talking to someone face to face instead of scrolling past their life online. The goal isn't to reject all modern life. It's to stop letting it own you. Because at the end of your life, you will not remember the shows you watched. You will not look back fondly at the hours you spent refreshing your feed. You will remember the moments of courage, the quiet realizations, the people you loved, and the purpose you followed. So step out of the haze, step out of the distraction, and return to the life you were meant to live. You were not born to be a cog in a machine. You were not meant to live a life muted by fear, molded by expectation, or drowned in distraction. The greatest deception of modern society is that this, the grind, the race, the constant noise, is all there is. But if you slow down, even for a moment, you will feel it, the quiet rebellion in your bones, the knowing that life could be different, that you could be different. You are not powerless. You are simply asleep. And now, you are beginning to wake up. The question is, will you keep dreaming the dream they sold you? Or will you rise, reclaim your mind, and start living a life that is truly your own?